I'll follow your lead.
Hello, everyone. For those who are just joining, I'm just going to give an extra minute or two for people who might be a little bit late, and then we'll get started. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. We have a little over 60 people here, and we're 4 minutes over, so I feel like we should get started. To kick things off, today we'll be going through a deep dive with Mitchell, one of our analysts from Headset, who's been jumping into the new Missouri data that we've launched. This information comes out of our Insights platform. This is live as of yesterday when we pull that data. And then it's available now to the Missouri market. We'll start off with some introductions. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dylan. I work with Jake Sager, who you are all probably more familiar with. He's our Missouri rep, but he's out on paternal leave right now, taking care of his new boy, Griffin. So I'll be here to help Mitchell along with some of the slides, answer some questions along the way using our chat bubble and Q&A in the bottom. And then, Mitchell, do you want to give yourself an intro as well?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Dylan. Hi, everybody. I'm Mitchell Lafrilla. I'm a data analyst here at Headset. So we recently published an industry report detailing the state of Missouri and the cannabis market, which you can find on our website under industry reports. But so today we're going to cover some of what was in that report, as well as go a bit deeper into several areas. So we can get right into it, I guess.
Nice. Well, we got one more person on the panel. Cooper, do you also want to introduce yourself too?
Sure. Thanks, Dylan. My name is Cooper Ashley. I'm the analytics manager at Headset and work closely with Mitchell and the rest of our analytics team on bringing this data to you. So happy to be here, but this is a Mitchell show, so I'll probably be on mute most of the time.
Perfect. All right, Mitchell, over to you.
So what are we going to cover? We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but some of it is going to be sales growth, category trends, the competitive landscape, pricing, basket analysis, some demographics data. And at the end, we're going to have a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. We can hopefully get to them all at the end. So Missouri, adult use began in Missouri February 1st, quickly gotten up to speed. And Missouri is a $1 billion market. They got there in only about 8 months. So there's still some time remaining in the rest of the year. And that makes it the 6th largest market of our tracked US markets. But it's actually the 4th largest in terms of total sales per capita after Michigan, Nevada, Colorado. So pretty impressive sales so far from Missouri. And here's the graph over here. This is only February through October. So there's already some additional sales probably in January from the medical market as well. Next, at Headset, we kind of separate our markets into this idea of legacy versus emerging markets. A legacy market might be like West Coast markets such as Washington, Oregon, California, perhaps Colorado as well, where they've been around for a decade. They've seen the market go up and down, and they've kind of set up shop. An emerging market are markets that are kind of this new wave where they've been in the last 5 years. They're still developing, still getting their operation going. These markets might be Massachusetts, Michigan, Illinois, and of course Missouri, Maryland as well is one of our newest markets. And it's difficult to kind of say what the playbook of an emerging market is because every market is really different. So some of those differences might be how they're regulated, the market size, regional landscape, how the industry is implemented, tax structure, right? And so all those contribute to pretty diverse growth patterns. So if we look at this graph here on the right, this covers a lot of our emerging markets and their sales over time. So if we look at Michigan, which is in the orange, it's got this really impressive up to the right total sales graph, and it's kind of defined by rapid and sustained expansion. Illinois is in the yellow, and it's more characterized by it's had a slow rollout, which has contributed to kind of flat growth, low access, like pretty low store count. You can kind of see that represented in their total sales. Massachusetts, which is in the dark green, what I would consider to be a steady, healthy growth, right? It's a little more tempered than Michigan's, but a little more sustained than Illinois. And then we have Missouri, which is here in the purple, and it's a little too early to kind of judge what path that this is going to take. However, from the first 8-9 months, we can see first month sales really jumped, and then after that, it's been pretty flat, and actually, it's kind of somewhat decreased modestly. So what are the different elements that control growth? Well, obviously, there's a bunch. But some of the ones we're going to discuss are access, regional landscape, and pricing. So this graph here on the right talks about store count. This is stores per 1 million residents. And Missouri store count is a little bit on the lighter side of average. If we look at the median store count per capita is about 47 per million, where in Missouri, it's only about 34. And it's more than low access markets like Maryland and Illinois, which kind of round out the bottom of this graph, but it is on the lighter side than other similar markets such as Arizona, Nevada, and Massachusetts. And this perhaps indicates that there's some room to grow store count and access in the coming years. While low access is an issue in some markets like Illinois, oversaturation can also be an issue. You see Oregon and Colorado, they have the highest store count per capita. And both those markets have contracted significantly in the last year. And so store saturation in their case is likely probably a factor. And as we saw in the previous slide with Michigan, they've been able to sustain really impressive growth the last few years. And likely a lot of that has been fueled by an abundance of stores opening up. So you can kind of see how, expanding access to people allows you to take advantage of pre-existing demand in pockets that previously were underserved. So another element is the regional landscape, right? We have this nice graphic here on the right where the orange is recreational markets and the green is medical markets. Then of course, gray is no legislation around it. And there's a distinct regional factor to Midwestern markets such as Missouri. As you can see, Missouri is totally surrounded by markets without adult use. Naturally, states such as Illinois, Missouri, Michigan, they've become the main markets for out-of-state customers. Missouri in particular shares a border with 7 states without an adult use cannabis market. If you look at like California, Oregon, Washington, perhaps they have Idaho, but they're mostly servicing their domestic market. And while this is currently a benefit to places like Missouri, we've also seen this backfire for markets that grow to fit a market that is actually much larger than its local economy can support. And this demand may not always exist. It's important that retailers build a strong, lasting business right now rather than just expanding unchecked, because this demand can evaporate right as the legal landscape changes. Michigan, for example, has 2.5 times the sales per capita as California. And this might actually be an indication that what they are benefiting from is the demand of their neighbors, right? Places like Ohio, which have 12 million people, Indiana, Wisconsin, which don't have a regulated market, and Ohio, which just passed adult use cannabis 2 days ago. This could spell some trouble for retailers in Michigan that expanded courting Midwest neighbors whose business may eventually go elsewhere with time. We'll find out kind of 9 months down the road as Ohio stands up their market. So on this graphic, this is the category percent of total sales. The blue band or the dark blue band is Missouri's market share, while the light purple is the rest of the US. And so immediately you can see flower is by far the largest category in Missouri. And this has long been true throughout the US. However, look for this to change as customers get exposure to new formats. As you can see, this is vastly overrepresented in Missouri relative to the rest of the market. Nationally, flower has only been losing market share in favor of some of these newer formats. Vapor pens, edibles, pre-rolls, concentrates. These popular categories round out the top 5 in terms of percent of total sales. And pre-rolls and vapor pens are 2 exciting categories that are growing nationally, and they're currently underrepresented in Missouri. If you look at vapor pens here, it's about 3 percentage points off the national average, and pre-rolls are even more than that, 9% versus a national 14%. Vapor pens in particular are exceptionally popular among younger demographics who are increasingly becoming more and more percentage or larger share of the market, I should say. Beverages, they're a small but mighty category in the sense that they only capture about 1% of total sales nationally, but they're growing and people are pretty excited by the opportunities and the potential that it represents. We're constantly getting questions from media outlets or people doing research into potentially where beverages could go. They do grow, obviously modestly, being only 1% of total cannabis sales. But when you think about how kind of alcohol presents itself in modern society, obviously people kind of see beverages fitting into that equation long term with cannabis. And wellness products, this is things like topicals, capsules, tinctures, and sublinguals. They're a very small amount of sales nationally. However, the representation in Missouri is significantly lighter than nationally. So there's also some opportunity there as well. So it's a little difficult to see in this graphic because they're rounded to the nearest percent, but I believe like tinctures and sublinguals, for example, is about 0.9% nationally, and it's only like 0.2% in Missouri. So there's a pretty decent relative gap there, also representing some opportunity for people in that product category, specifically in Missouri. So like I mentioned, pre-rolls, very exciting category. They're the 3rd largest category in the US, but they're the 4th largest in Missouri. And we actually just wrote and published a pre-roll deep dive, and you can find that in the same place on our website under industry reports. Lots of really interesting stuff in that category. At a time when the market across all other categories has contracted 1.2%, so pretty flat, pre-rolls have grown an impressive 13% year over year. So definitely grabbing a lot of people's attention. Pre-rolls has reached near parity with flower in Canada. So this is not only a US trend, but it's completely industry-wide. And this is largely fueled by the growth of the connoisseur and infused segment. So connoisseur and infused would be like a pre-roll rolled in keef or like a concentrates infused joints. And this segment has grown by 20% in the last year in terms of total sales. And now it's the largest single pre-roll segment, which captures 42% of all pre-roll sales. And a big thing that's kind of powering that growth is just the value of that product. Value in the sense that, so value is one of the largest deciding factors for a customer. So think THC per dollar. And infused pre-rolls really hit that mark. They're affordable, they're consistent, and they kind of get the job done. They hit that balance of potency and price. Another example for like kind of a high value product that's been successful is high dose beverages. In California, Some of the most successful beverage brands have been one selling um, like beverages at the 100 milligram limit with at a price point of about $12, right? So it's like you get a lot of bang for your buck, and so they've seen a lot of success. Additionally, the connoisseur and infused pre-rolls are attractive because they're consistent. Um, the product and both the experience are very consistent, and they're desirable in a variety of settings to a wide variety of customer demographics. Joint, is a familiar format to both someone in their 50s or 60s, as well as maybe someone like a newer customer in their 20s. Vapor pens, additionally, are also growing, especially as the preferred format of the younger generation. Nationally, they're the second largest category, but they recently surpassed flower as the #1 category for Gen Z specifically. And like we mentioned, Gen Z is only becoming more and more part of the market. So on this slide, we have a chart that is showing brand and product count by state. And this kind of addresses the topic of competition. So competition in Missouri is currently pretty light compared to other US markets. As you can see, it's definitely, I think it's third from the bottom here, with about 204 brands in Missouri compared to Massachusetts and Colorado, which have similar sales totals. Missouri, or those states have double and triple the amount of brands respectively. So, you can see Massachusetts and Colorado about halfway up the chart with 397 brands, distinct brands, and 627 in Colorado. And most of this can be attributed to the newness of the market, right? Only 8 months in, give or take a month. So I would expect more brands to enter the market in coming years and for that to have a distinct effect on price. So this graph here shows the average number of SKUs or distinct products per retailer. And so the number of products on shelves is a good way to determine product diversity in a market. So, in the #1 spot, you can see Washington State, which has the highest amount of SKUs per store with nearly 3,000 unique products at the average retailer. And for context, like Trader Joe's has like about 4,000 unique products. So this is largely a result of Washington not being a vertically integrated market. And that means you can't hold both a producer and retailer license in the state of Washington. This increases competition, drives down price, and explains why Washington has some of the lowest prices in the country, right? Inversely, Colorado, Massachusetts, Florida, these states have the most heavily vertically integrated market, and thus we see that they have the fewest SKUs per store. Florida, in particular, is a completely vertically integrated market. So when you kind of compare Florida versus Washington here, vertically integrated market versus not at all, you can see that why they would end up at opposite sides of the chart. The Missouri is vertically integrated market. Retailers already have a strong selection of products, which is awesome, being only 9 months into adult use. There's about, you see they're kind of in the middle of the chart here with 1,100 SKUs per store. Oh, sorry, continue, Dylan.
I was saying, Mitchell, you've got a great stat around from another industry about from Trader Joe's. Do you mind just sharing kind of some context there?
Yeah, I mean, Trader Joe's, if you think about it, is like where people go to shop for groceries. They're buying a wide variety of categories of products. And then if you think about Washington State, who's 1,000 less than them, but 3,000, has 3,000 distinct SKUs, the selection when you walk into a store in Washington, like really caters to every type of customer niche, right? So the fact that, a cannabis store only selling cannabis products is that close to a grocery retailer is pretty incredible. But so the reason that this, having a diverse selection of products is one of the main advantages is that it's one of the main advantages that the legal market has over the illicit market. And winning business over from the illicit market is a great way for Missouri and other markets to find new and organic growth. So let's get into pricing. It's a very juicy topic. This graph here shows average item price, which is in the dark blue across all categories. And in the kind of light purple here, we have average EQ price. EQ price refers to equivalized volume price. So it's essentially the price per gram. And this is specifically for inhalable products, right? So inhalable categories are flower, pre-rolls, vapor pens, concentrates. And Missouri, along with other newer markets such as Maryland and Illinois, has some of the highest prices in the country, right? You can see even a really steep drop off after the Maryland bar as it gets into Massachusetts and then the market average. With a AIP of $33, Missouri's average item price is 47% higher than the US average at about $22.45. So nearly $10 more expensive than the average. And you compare that with Washington State's AIP of $13.16, we can see the effects of high competition market in Washington versus low competition in states like Illinois, Maryland, Missouri. This becomes an element of competition for regional markets as well, right? So as I mentioned, Missouri is one of the first adult use markets in the region. However, they do compete for out-of-state demand with states like Illinois and Michigan. I've anecdotally heard about people who live in Indiana, really close to the Illinois border, and they choose to drive to Michigan for cheaper products, right? This also comes into effect with border towns. So potential customers in East St. Louis, which is on the Illinois side, they may prefer to shop with Missouri retailers on the Missouri side for better prices and more selection. Continuing with pricing, this graph is average EQ price over time for inhalables. So again, price per gram nationwide. And this is from the start of 2021. So as you can see, pricing has been falling continuously over time. Pricing compression, it's been one of the big issues plaguing the industry as a whole. I'm sure a lot of you guys have read about this. Definitely big industry news. There are a lot of contributing factors to pricing compression, such as increased market maturity and competition. COVID-19 pandemic definitely inflated demand for a period, only for it to trail off, leaving markets with a ton of excess product and production capabilities, which led to plummeting wholesale prices, thus contributing to this downward trend that we see here in the dark blue. From October 2021 to October 2022, the price per gram fell 20% year over year. And this year, it slowed down a bit. As you can see in the graphic, it starts to flatten out, but it still fell another 15%. And since adult use began in Missouri in February, the national market EQ price has dropped 7%, while in Missouri, it's actually increased 22%. So super interesting trend there. And this alludes to a very strong demand in Missouri, which makes people very cost tolerant. We also see this with discounting, right? So Missouri has half the average discount seen around the country. Again, indicating very strong demand. You don't need to necessarily discount your product as much to kind of still get that high level of sales. I think nationally, the average discount is about 20%, while in Missouri it's about 10%. However, cautionary tale, I would not expect this to last. Just as demand disappeared after the pandemic, so can demand evaporate from Missouri market. Border states will likely legalize. As I said, there's 7 states that Missouri shares a border with that don't currently have a legal market. And we've all seen the trend. Competition will intensify, states will legalize, and prices will likely be forced down over time. So that's why building a strong business now, focusing on things like operational efficiency, knowing your brand performance relative to the competition, focusing on profitable product lines, like this will pay dividends as the market matures, right? So build that strong business now. This graph, similar to the last one, keys in on average EQ price, again, price per gram for inhalables, to other emerging markets since the start of 2021. So here we have Illinois, Massachusetts, Michigan, Missouri, and Maryland. As you can see, prices have been falling in Michigan, Massachusetts, and Illinois for the last several years, though at a reduced rate as of late. However, in Missouri and Maryland, 2 of the newest markets, prices have actually increased since recreational sales began. Again, this is likely a luxury of pent-up demand as well. However, there's no guarantee how long this can continue. What's more than likely going to happen is we'll see both these markets prices start to drop in the coming months and years. Right here, we have a very simple but very powerful chart. This histogram displays the distribution of a price of an eighth of flower in Missouri. Total units is the y-axis here on the left, total units sold. And on the x-axis, we have price bands, right? So for the most part, it looks like the eighth of a flower in Missouri costs between $20 and $50, right? That makes up the lion's share of this distribution, with the most common price for 3.5 grams being about $40. However, there still appears to be a few other price bands nestled in here. It looks like there's kind of a peak around $25 as well as a $35 offering. So let's take this chart of price per eighth in Missouri, and we'll compare that to a more mature market such as California. So obviously, cannabis is cheaper in a mature market like California. However, immediately you probably notice that the distribution much longer, and it has multiple peaks, which is representing multiple price points from as low as all the way down to $5 to up to 60. There's even something in the 65 plus bucket. And this is a great representation of the principle of good, better, best, which, if you're not familiar, is a pricing strategy that uses tiered pricing, where different product lines are offered at a variety of different prices. So using California as an example, the good tier here would be between $10 and $20, right? This is the largest, where the most volume of sales is happening. And this is likely the value brand. Decent product for the right price, with an extra emphasis on the price here. This is the largest group. And since it spans nearly $10, you can maybe separate this into like a super value versus a value group, 10 versus 20. Next is the better tier. Here, the consumer is willing to spend more money to get better quality, though price is still an element of their decision. So this price band is around $30 an eighth. And then finally, kind of this last arc here, we have the best tier, which usually caters to customers who care much more about the quality than the cost. Definitely like luxury brands, premium brands at about $40 and up in California. You can bet that you're getting some premium cannabis. And there's even enough sales over 45 to probably even segment out into like an extra premium brand where the customer doesn't even care about price hardly at all. And they really just want to have the very best product that you have to offer. So let's look at California and Missouri again. California, Missouri, back to California. So California versus Missouri, you can see how a mature market caters to a wide variety of different customers to maximize revenue, right? As Missouri matures, you're going to see brands diversify their product line. They're going to have products that cater to all different niche customer types. There's going to be the product that is to that ultra luxury band, and then there's going to be a value product, right? And that's just maximizing the revenue potential that a brand may have. So I guess the message here is maybe don't give up on building products for customers that you think do and will exist. If you dropped that Missouri logic into California, you would slap a sticker on, you'd have one product to try to fit everyone instead of really kind of weeding out the customer that you're pining after. Next, we're going to discuss basket analysis. So why should a retailer in Missouri or any cannabis market be looking at basket analysis? Well, it provides excellent information on what your customers are purchasing, and then can also help you come up with some strategies to increase your revenue. So total sales obviously can be broken down into two simple factors, right? There's total number of transactions, and that's multiplied by the average size of those transactions. And there's numerous strategies for increasing transaction volume, right? There's marketing and advertisement campaigns, there's promotions and discounts, in-store events. However, one of the most concrete and measurable metrics a retailer can track and manipulate is average basket size. So average basket size can, of course, also be broken down into two subcomponents. There's the number of items per basket, or the number of items that a customer is purchasing in any given trip, and average price per item. So let's start this basket analysis by taking a look at the average basket size across US cannabis markets last month. So here we can see that Missouri had the fourth largest average basket size in the US, trailing behind Florida, Maryland, Illinois, also notably markets with the highest prices in the country. Furthermore, Missouri has significantly higher basket sizes than Oregon and Washington, two of the markets with higher stores per capita and higher competition. Now we take a look at the number of items in an average basket across the US. As we can see on the screen, Missouri is all the way at the bottom of the graph. It's only 2.2 items in an average basket, dead last. This makes sense after seeing that prices are still quite high in Missouri. So you can see the issue with falling prices if retailers are unable to grow the basket size, or the units per basket, the number of products that people are buying each time they take a trip to the store. Overall revenue is just going to decrease. And this is where something like good, better, best, like we just discussed, is a great example of how Missouri brands can maximize revenue. And an obvious strategy for retailers looking to increase sales is to encourage customers to add additional products to their transactions. And we're going to look at some classic retail strategies shortly. So since February, the number of items in an average Missouri cannabis transaction has begun to drift down. If you're a retailer and your data looks like this, you should probably be coming up with some strategies on how to help turn this back upwards. By no surprise, as we mentioned, that prices grew by 22% since the start of the market. We see the inverse trend here, probably directly related to each other. Due to increasing competitive pressures, average prices of products that will likely decline over time in Missouri. If customers are purchasing the same or fewer products at lower and lower prices, you can do the math. Your basket size will drop, and therefore your total revenue. So as a final piece of motivation to maybe take a look at basket analysis for your own business and to start coming up with some strategies to increase basket size and therefore revenue, take a look at this graph. In 8 short months, the average basket size in Missouri has dropped by 10%, from about $73 in February to about $66 last month. While there's still surely new adult use customers entering the market, each transaction is trending smaller and smaller over time. So what strategies could you use to boost basket sizes at your business? So there's two classic basket boosting strategies to employ. And the two classic strategies are cross-selling and upselling. So cross-selling, simply encouraging a customer to pick up a product from a category that they weren't already considering. So the classic example is McDonald's infamous question, would you like fries with that? In addition, so for cannabis, this might look like suggesting a low-cost add-on such as a pre-roll or single-serving edible, or simply asking, do you need a lighter or any rolling papers? Another example could be suggesting a sleep-focused tincture if a customer is purchasing some sleep-focused gummies. Upselling, on the other hand, is a tactic of suggesting a larger size or more premium item within the same category. So the classic McDonald's example here would be, would you like to supersize that? Some cannabis retail examples would include something like making sure customers know that you sell that strain that they love in a half-pound size if they usually purchase eighths, or letting a edible customer know about a premium brand of chocolates that you just brought in. Or, from my own life this weekend, I saw a shop employee upsell my friend when they suggested a higher quality product that was only $5 more, right? They got an extra $5 out of that transaction. And these strategies really boil down to one thing, which is giving your customer easy opportunities to spend more before they leave your store. But that's enough about baskets. Let's talk about Missouri customers themselves. So here we can see the proportion of sales for each demographic group last month in Missouri, as well as the rest of the US. In this case, it looks like Missouri cannabis customers looks pretty similar to what we see in other markets. Missouri, millennials make up 44% of total sales, a huge bucket. Millennial males alone make up nearly a third of all sales. Being in tune with the types of products that that group is looking for is super important. Female customers contribute just shy of 35% of total sales and represent an increasingly important portion of the market. Again, that group also has different preferences as far as categories and types of products. Gen Z customers, they make up only 16% of Missouri cannabis sales, or they made up only 16% of Missouri cannabis sales last month. But it's important to remember that new Gen Z customers, they're entering the market each day when they have their 21st birthday or their 18th birthday for medical cannabis. So sales to this demographic group, they're guaranteed to grow over time. So we know about who is shopping, but what are they buying? Love this graph. This is pulled directly from one of our insights dashboard. And this shows the relative wallet spend to each category among the different age groups in Missouri. And this is from October. And here we can see some big differences in category preference across different customer ages. So for example, Gen Z customers are spending more than twice as much on vapor pen products than baby boomers, right? So this is probably helping fuel that industry-wide trend that we're seeing of a growing vapor pen segment. You know, vapor pens is here in the yellow, and you can see a very concrete trend of it shrinking and diminishing as it goes to the older demographics. On the other hand, baby boomers are spending 3 times as much on edibles as Gen Z customers are. Edibles in this graph is dark green, right? So you see the inverse trend going the opposite direction. Baby boomers spending about 22.3% of their total wallet on edibles, where Gen Z, that's only 7.2. And while the differences aren't as extreme, pre-rolls and concentrates also appear to be more popular with younger customers. You know, concentrates, again, more of a, along with vapor pens, more of a modern, newer format that maybe the older groups aren't as familiar with. Topicals, tinctures, capsules, those definitely resonate with older customers. They're kind of housed here in these smaller orange bands, but they, you know, there's a clear trend of it increasing as you get kind of into the baby boomer age group wellness products. If you'd like to keep track of these types of trends, consider subscribing to Headsets Insights, of course. This chart is taken directly from one of the dashboards in the demographics module. So finally, we can see some of our basket metrics across our customer age groups in Missouri. So here we can see that baby boomers tend to spend significantly more, 35% more, in fact, per transaction than Gen Z customers. And this is a trend that we've seen across all markets, and this makes a lot of intuitive sense. So older Americans tend to have more disposable income than younger generations, right? Interestingly, the average item price is nearly identical across all generations. So the large diversity in basket size is driven entirely by the number of items in the average basket for each demographic. So here we can see while Gen Z customers average 1.8 items per transaction, baby boomers are stocking up with 2.4 items per visit. So, you know, you can conclude here that it's probably easier to upsell the older shoppers while younger customers are a little more eager for discounts and deals. You know, this is a great way to think about good, better, best, and you can imagine where these different demographics are fitting into those different price bands that we discussed. So that's the end of the presentation. I know I threw a ton of information at you all, but if there's any questions on the material, I can do my best to give some answers. Of course, I'm only one perspective. I'm sure a lot of you guys have great insight as well. So if anybody wants to chime in the chat, we can, you can definitely feel free. So I'll turn it over to Dylan if you have any questions.
Yeah, we'll wait for some Q&A to populate if folks have questions. But I think for me, and I think just an overarching question for this webinar is, if I'm a brand and I'm getting ready for 2024, what things should I focus on from the data that you're seeing right now?
Yeah, I mean, with the information that we discussed, definitely the price bands, good, better, best idea, as well as demographics data, just identifying core customers and developing products that way, like developing a product for a specific customer profile. It's much more sophisticated approach to product development than just kind of making a one size fit all product that you're kind of arbitrarily assigning a price to. Missouri's off to a really good spot, or they're in a good spot right now with such high demand. Uh, but like we know that hype is eventually going to wear off and market conditions are going to change. So don't wait to kind of instill those good business principles now. Now's the time to build a strong, lasting business.
Nice. And just to get an idea, who are some of the front runners as far as brands for this first year?
So in the industry report, there's a more larger section that kind of says top products by category. What I have on hand for flower, Flora Farms, Good Day Farms, Illicit Gardens, like year to date, those I think are the top three for total sales. Edibles are Wana Brands, Smokies Edibles, Grown, and vapes are Rove, Timeless, Platinum Vapes. And then I don't have the other categories, but all that information obviously is available in Insights.
Yeah. We do have some questions now in the bottom. So from Noah Marsh, what have been some good other state examples of price compression happening, quote, responsibly / slowly in a limited license environment, say Oklahoma?
I haven't been able to look at Oklahoma. That's not a state that we track in terms of their pricing. You do see definitely big differences in pricing compression, but pricing compression is something that's affected everyone. It's not even only to the US. In Canada, they experience pricing compression as well, although to a lesser degree. It's been places like Oregon that have definitely been the hardest hit. They had like such extreme production that they just like were way overproducing products, right? And so people were essentially like giving away flour, and that just like caused prices to plummet. And so, like some of the things I pointed out about regional landscape in the Midwest, like I definitely have concerns about like Michigan, for example, with like has Michigan been setting up a market that is based upon demand that is much higher than they'll be able to fill once some of that evaporates. And that I don't necessarily know from the producer's angle what the right course of action is, but it's definitely something to keep in mind that you're not overextending yourself and overexpanding based on demand that's not going to be there tomorrow. Cooper, do you have anything to add to that point?
I don't. I think you covered it really well.
Great.
Nice. This next question might actually be more for you, Cooper, but can you talk a little bit about the process for how you gather and model the data sets for Missouri? How many doors are you pulling from, and how much do you rely on state provided sales data, et cetera?
Yeah, we just make everything up. No, just kidding. We do. So kind of the general process of how Insights is built is we do start with a top line monthly total sales number. And if that's available from a government source, we use it. Missouri has been one of the better sources about reporting those things quickly. So that's nice for us. And then if we have intervening months between the most recent published government total, we forecast those. Mitchell is actually on our forecasting team, and they are extremely good. We usually are within, once the government publishes a true number that we normalize to, it's usually a restatement of less than 2% for that total number. So we start with that top line number, and then we use a sample that we are constantly adjusting of connected retailers to get down to the product level data as recent as yesterday. In Missouri, we have is an incredibly robust sample, thanks to Jake has been just an excellent networking with the Missouri market, and we have many Missouri stores connected. I think we have, last time I checked, we had about 80% of the market in our sample.
Right on. I could probably take this next one. So is there any data on pricing in different Missouri areas, such as KC or St. Louis, border towns, etc.? At the moment, and just due to our the way that we want to protect our clients' data from the dispensary level, we don't have regional data. Take my my market in Oregon. There is one county that only has one dispensary, and so, for instance, we would never share that county's information. Might be a different story in Missouri, but it's just something we haven't explored just yet. Next question is, how do you expect the micro licenses to affect the future growth and prices? So this is new to me. I know that Jake, our Missouri rep, has kept an eye on this for Mitchell and Cooper. There's an option where basically there's a new micro license coming out where they'll have to be totally vertically integrated within their own doors, I believe. Do you have it? Is there any comment on that?
I think, I because given the name micro, I would just inherently expect it not to be like at a total state market level. I wouldn't expect it to make a massive impact, but it's definitely something that we'll keep our eyes on and track as it develops.
Yeah, and I think taking from some of the slides before, where some of those states that are totally vertically integrated, seeing less products, cheaper pricing within there, I think, with a vertically integrated store. So those would be things to consider, Samantha. From Thomas, this is excellent information for the Missouri market as a whole. Do you offer tutorials for our team that would help us find reports, mine data, and search for opportunities in individual stores? So again, we aren't reporting on this insights data per store location. However, if you are using our bridge tool, you do see your own data in those dispensaries that you sell to. That would help you work with those dispensaries to help them with slow moving product, capitalize on things that are moving quickly, A/B test different market strategies or marketing strategies with those specific dispensaries. But yes, of course. So the comment for tutorials, we're here to help you get the most out of the data. And our team, we have weekly trainings on all of our products, and most of our sales reps are available when asked to join and help you find this data. Ultimately, your success is our success.
Dylan, I can hop in on here too. Hey, y'all, my name's Ashley. I head up the customer success team here. And as Dylan mentioned, we host all of those great regular trainings, and my team is also here to help guide people through the application, whether that's through that group training session or a handful of like one-on-one trainings as needed for people. So we're here to help and make sure that you can connect to the tool, and our support team will even hop on a Zoom call if you're in app and a little lost. They'll give you a tutorial right when you're in the application itself, and they typically respond within about 30 seconds. So really easy to be able to get the training that you need to be able to leverage all of this data to the fullest extent.
Yeah, and I think actually from a previous question too, I think something's just coming to mind. Headset does have an option with a tool called Bridge Signal. I think this was Samantha's question, wondering about pricing per different store locations. We do pull leafly information from menus when available, and that will help you understand, aggregate all those menus together to find out pricing for different categories and brands at certain dispensaries as they are publicly available on their leafly menus. That Signal tool will aggregate all of that for you to save you some time there.
Dylan, I just wanted to jump quickly back to one of our earlier questions on infused pre-rolls. The question was what proportion of the pre-roll market, when Mitchell was talking about that, is made up by the infused segment. And as he mentioned, they internationally, infused pre-rolls have been growing tremendously over the last year or two. I say internationally because we track Canadian data as well. But just in Missouri alone, in February, the first month of adult use sales, they made up 3.2% of pre-roll category sales. Last month in October, they made up 18.6%. So they have 6x'd their market share in the last 9 months.
Nice, definitely a growing market, or a growing segment then.
Absolutely.
One last question. Do you have a graph on how states compare in their speed of price compression?
I don't think I have one for this report, although you could definitely find that in Insights if you subscribe to multiple markets, and that's something that we may publish in the future. Keep an eye on our marketing materials.
Cool. I know I said one last question, but we did have one jump in, and I think this is a good one to answer. You said we were connected to about 80% of dispensaries. Is that via an actual API to get the real-time data? That is correct, yes. All of Headset's data in Insights is pulled it's aggregated into a statewide read from the point of sale systems and dispensaries that are connected to us. This is very different from web scrape data that may have, it's pulled from menu information. Menu information can be different from store to store, depending on whether they have taxes in there, whether their discounts are in there, included in those prices. Is there a store only promo offered, for instance? These are things you're not going to get out of that menu scrape data. Whereas Headset's live API data will collect that information. This is we'll do this last question, and then that'll be all for today. Why would a retail partner not want to sign up with Headset? That's a great question. Jake and I have worked to get most of the dispensaries up on the free retailer tool in Missouri. This tool for the retailers collects or aggregates their own point of sale data, those numbers and lines and things like that, to provide actionable insights to their dispensary. And then that gives them the ability to connect with other brands via the Headset ecosystem. We'd love for every store to connect with us. It is free to join. And yeah, I don't have a perfect answer for that. But, as markets mature, I think we've seen Missouri really take on data as something that they should use in their day-to-day lives. So I would actually say that Missouri's ahead of the game when it comes to this. Other states are a little bit behind. More legacy states might not understand the true value of all of this information that they're getting out of this reporting tool. Yeah. All right. Well, Mitchell, Cooper, thank you so much. Ashley, you as well. And to everyone, Jake is currently out on paternity leave. So we're hoping to take away from his email inbox. My email is dhayes@headset.io. If you're interested in chatting after this, you can direct information to that, or yeah. Or Ashley, is there a better email for folks?
We can always use the highway@headset.io. So if you're not quite sure who to reach out to, I help monitor that across 3 or 4 different people. But if you know that you're ready to action on next steps, Dylan's definitely your best contact there.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Have a great 3-day weekend. Go Veterans. And we will see you next time.
Cheers.